So this week we're going to talk about simple, making things simple, because we all make it so hard, right?
Mhm.
Life is, we don't need it to be this hard. And it's February and life is hard in February. So really for me, there are 3 steps. But the first part of the conversation is I think that simple, excuse me, it's just going to drip and cough. I think that simple is always better. But like we have to sort of agree to terms on that first. We have to like come to agreement. So I think it's really like, yes, the people say, well, it's always better to be simple, but really like actually why? Because if we know what we're trying to improve upon, then the whole thing makes a whole heck of a lot more sense. For me, it's because simple is the opposite of complicated, honestly, and I'm not into complicated. When things get complicated, they take up more time, they take up more energy, they get harder to keep track of. It's easier to make all the mistakes. I don't know what's happening. Um, and so my like life goal is to make things as uncomplicated as possible. When we add layers of like shoulds and to-dos and things to keep track of and moving parts, like all of that keeps not even just like time, but mental space. And then it's when we start to lose track of things. And that's when we start to feel frazzled and overwhelmed. That's when we end up having to do things 2 and 3 times. That's when we have, like, it all falls apart from there. And that's why, like, I am in this constant pursuit to not do that. Because honestly, the goal of simplicity is less time. Like, I want things to be more efficient. If I keep them simple, I can do that. I want them to use less energy. And I don't mean that in like a I don't want to put energy into my work kind of way. I want energy to be saved for the parts I love the best, right? And I don't want to spend all of my energy fighting through something I've made overcomplicated and then not having energy to do the parts I love. Simple is just easier to keep track of. Like one moving part versus six. It's pretty straightforward, right? The math of that is easy. And then if we can keep things simple when we break something, when we decide to go a new direction, when we decide to change something, there's a lot less to redo, quite honestly. And that's lovely if you've ever changed direction or decided that something wasn't working the way it was. You know, is it redoing 3 steps or 33? That's a big deal. So the more simple at the outset we can be, the better. So now we agree, right? Like simple better. So if we agree, then the question is like, cool, great. Like now what? I would say for me, I always think of this in the same 3 steps. The lovely joy of these 3 steps is that they are very straightforward and they are highly repeatable. They are my go-to time and time again, and it's like three, three key ideas. They are for big, like, how do I keep my business simple? How do I keep this day simple? How do I keep this task simple? They apply to basically everything. And that's use them as many times as you want. So the first step is always clarity, to get clear. The thing about clarity is it helps at every level. So it might be that you need clarity about what you do and don't do overall, like what your business serves, the things it doesn't. I was just talking to a client about, services she's probably not going to offer anymore. They're just, overcomplicating the picture. But it's also maybe about what you want to accomplish in a particular goal. Like, I want to do this thing. What am I actually trying to do? What am I actually trying to solve? What am I trying to accomplish? Because if we're not clear on this, if we're not clear on where we're going, there's a lot of like gunk that happens in between. It's sort of like getting out your map and thinking like I'm going to drive to the store and just like not putting in the specific store. Well, it's going to be a really long trip because you're going to like backtrack and go down this road and go down that road and, you know, turn around and go back. If you know the destination, everything gets easier. We can't effectively tell people about what we're doing until we're clear on it ourselves. And sometimes we do that by talking about it, but when it's a project or something else, the clarity's got to be at the beginning. So for me, there are always three questions. They always apply. They apply at the biggest scale of like, what do I clear about in my business, but also like project to project. So what do you do? Or more project based, what am I doing? Like, what am I trying to do right now? Who is it for? Why? Like, why do I do this? And why does it matter to them? So even if I am doing something small, like maybe it's I'm sitting down to write social media posts, like, why am I doing this? Who is it for? And why does it matter for them? That's a way better place mentally to write and post and share from than like I just have to do this. It's a lot clearer. It'll be more effective because you know what you're trying to accomplish. And that makes all the difference. So the thing I think all the time is clarity is a confidence builder. 100%. The clearer you are about something that you're doing, about what your business is doing, about how it works, why it works, it's way easier to talk about it with confidence, to present it with confidence, to do it with confidence, to be sure it's going to work, right? To know your value in it. That level of clarity is like, oh, of course people want to do this because they'd be crazy not to. It is the difference between I know exactly who I am, I know exactly what I do, and I know exactly why it matters, and not, basically, which is not a fun place to be. Like, it's way better to have the first set, right? Clarity is confidence. So that's step one. Step two is to prioritize, truly. Because here's the thing, like, we can get clear about what we want and still have chaos. Prioritizing is putting order to chaos. Not all of the things we're thinking we have to do actually matter. And I think that all the time. Like, I'll look at my list, you know, not all things on there actually matter, and not all the things on there matter equally, truly. They just don't. I mean, we would love to say everything on your to-do list has the same weight to it. That's just not true. And in this step, we decide what matters more, and what doesn't actually matter at all. Because truly, there are things, where did we go here? That don't matter at all. For me, the key to all prioritization is setting one goal. And if you know anything about me, you know this is like the mantra I beat into people day in and day out. But it really matters. Because if you know what you're trying to accomplish, that one thing you're trying to do, it means that when you look at your list of things, you get to go, okay, does this serve this goal or not? It's not which goal does it serve, it's does it or not. It becomes a very simple question. So set your goal. I'm trying to accomplish this in my business, in my week, in my month, whatever. I'm trying to talk to 10 new people this month, for example. Then you get to look at your list and go, this task here, does it get me 10 new people? No. Okay, well then it's not prioritized. Does this task here? Yes. Then that one matters more. Once you can prioritize, you can decide how they're related to your goal. And then if you need to do them now. So it's not just, does this connect, but does it matter today? Because I think the thing that happens is we're like, yes, this connects to my goal. It'll help me in like a year, so I'll do it now. It doesn't help you in your goal if your goal is a this week kind of goal, right? But our brains are like, well, but I have to be prepared for 15 steps from now, right? What if What if 7,000 clients come and I don't know how to organize them? Well, let's get 7 first, and then we'll deal with 7,000. Let's deal with today's problem. That's a friend the other day said to me, stop borrowing problems from tomorrow. And I was like, oh, wow. It was very, very deeply stated. So at any given moment, you get to go like, is this thing I'm doing right now actually one that matters for my goal? If it's not, if you even start to think like, I don't know, anything other than yes is a no, basically. Because if you're not sure, it's not right. And then you can stop yourself and be like, oh, okay. So for me, prioritization is control. It is, and in the best possible way, right? I don't mean like you have to control all the parts. Prioritization is getting in the car and sitting in the driver's seat. It's being the decider. It is the difference between being intentional with your time and energy and not. It's not just, oh, wait, all these things are on my list, I'm going to follow them down in order. It's, wait, these two matter more than anything. I have to do these first. So it lets you really have control about the amount you accomplish, how you accomplish, why you accomplish, right? It's a much different thing to be intentionally controlling your priorities and what you spend your energy on than just sort of hoping you make it through your list, which is not, ever going to happen, honestly. Like, how many days this week have I actually checked off everything on my list? None, to be quite honest. But I got the things that mattered, and that matters more to me. So, okay, clear, prioritized, do. So the third step is truly action, but it is not just any old action. Like, this is not us throwing spaghetti at the wall. When priorities are clear, your goal is clear. Now the time is to act with purpose. This is the point where you step forward and you step into what I think of really as a problem-solving cycle. And in my notes, I wrote it down as the purposeful problem-solving cycle, which seems like a tongue twister destined to not work out well for me, but I did it once and probably never again. Purposeful action is step out onto the ledge, friend. Do the experiment. Walk back a little bit. Think about how it went. Decide to maybe step a little differently next time. But you actually have to take the action. Without the action, like, it's not a business, right? Like, we can keep business simple, we can get clear, we can get prioritized, but then we actually have to do something with that. This is the doing step. And the key to this is going, okay, what's the most important thing to do right now? Maybe it is meeting new people. So go do that. Do whatever experiment, join a networking group, join lunch club. I just had one of those this morning. Reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and say like, hey, I'd love to hook up with you. We seem to be in the same space. Tag a friend on Facebook and say like, hey, let's catch up and talk about what we're both doing. Like, we're not going to in-person things here, but if you're in a place where you are, go to something. Like, get on some virtual meetup. And then when you're done, sit back and go like, okay, wait, how did I show up to that? What did I learn? Who did I meet? Was it fun? Was it useful? Did I enjoy it? And then do it again. Like, maybe next time you're like, I don't know if that was the right group for me. Maybe I'll try a different one. Or I don't know if that was the right group for me. Maybe I should try it again. I think all groups get 3 tries. And then the third time, if you're like, still not my people, you can be out. Sometimes I've done that where I'm like, okay, the third time, okay, no, now I'm sure. Like, this is definitely not my group. Okay, got it. But this is how we go. Purposeful action creates consistency. People talk about like, oh gosh, I wish I could be more consistent in my business. This is it right here. Clear, prioritized, purposeful is consistency. Taking purposeful action intentionally day after day is what consistency is made of. It's the process of, okay, I tried this. This worked. I did it again. It worked different. So I adjusted and I keep showing up. It is the process of showing up and showing up and showing up and showing up and just like never not showing up. And that's not to say you always have to be present. For me, showing up and present are different things. Like I show up. I'm always going to do the things I know move my business forward. Am I always like super geeked out over them? Maybe, maybe not. Some days are better than others. That's normal human experience, right? Consistency, though, is in the end where it's at. Like that is the thing. Keeping everything simple, consistently is really like the sauce that we spread on business that makes it grow. It's like garden fertilizer. Ooh, I should write that down. That's a good analogy. So it is truly, in my head, the difference between growing and stuck. Consistency. Consistent, purposeful action is the one that makes the difference. And that's a big deal. There is a bonus step here. And this is like honestly my bonus step on everything lately. It is like my official last step. It's the official bonus to everything. And it is to celebrate. Because if you take the time, because you're feeling like really overwhelmed and things are complicated, and you think like, okay, wait, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get clear on what I'm doing. I'm going to prioritize the stuff that matters. I'm going to do some of them. If you take that step, if you go through that process, that's worth celebrating. It's worth going like, okay, look, I got out of my own way. Because you know when you say like, I have to get out of my own way, this is what it looks like. This is it. And then you get to like sit and be like, look, I got out of my own way. Go me. Woohoo. Have a little party. Because at this point, you are clear. Your actions are prioritized and you're actually doing the things to move forward. That's worth celebrating every time. Those are always wins in my book. So this is the rundown on simplicity for me. This is my like core being as a business owner. Like this is 100% how I feel about everything for my business and for clients. This is what I help people do. It all doesn't have to be this complicated. I was describing it to somebody the other day as my job is to help people stop driving on a 16-lane highway and to get onto the 2-lane road. It does not have to be like a highway, a crazy highway through the mountains. It can be like a nice straight country road over like gentle rolling hills. It doesn't have to be as crazy. If you want to get in touch, here are all the ways. Okay, so I'm going to pause.